Hi, everyone. As folks are joining in, we're asking you to let us know in the chat your name, agency, and the role you play in your agency. Just drop that in the chat. Thank you for joining us today. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started today. Again, we want to thank you all for joining us for our webinar Wednesday. We're glad that you decided to join us today. So today's webinar is on financial empowerment. We'll be doing a resource roundup for you all. So we're glad that you decided to join us today. We want to start with our land acknowledgement. So we know that every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. And we're going to put a link in the chat if you want to share where you're joining us from today. For me, I'm joining you all from North Carolina. And so for me, this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Lumbee people. And I pay my respect to elders, both past and present, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. So if you want to enter into the chat where you're joining us from today. We can go to the next slide. So we want to start the webinar with by grounding ourselves in the promise of community action. So wherever you are today, if you want to join us by repeating this out loud, we know that community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. So today, just introducing you to our team of presenters today. So I'm Karis Manus. I'm a Senior Associate of Learning and Dissemination here with the Practice Transformation team at the National Community Action Partnership. We also have Taylor Daniel, who is a Senior Associate of Learning and Dissemination here with the partnership, and Tamaritas Hollywood, Senior Associate of Learning and Dissemination. We also want to begin the webinar today by sending a thank you to our funder. So today's presentation is funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration of Children and Families, Office of Community Services, Division of Community Assistance. And now I will turn it over to Tamaritas to get us started with the poll this afternoon.
Welcome, 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 Community Action. Welcome to everyone who is here today from around our great nation. So who is in the room right now? That's the first question that we're going to start off with today. If you will either scan the code that's here right on the slide, that should take you directly to the poll, or you can go to www.menti.com, enter code 2646-2363. And again, that will take you directly to the poll. We are going to be answering 4 questions today, but we are going to start with who's here. Okay, so the numbers are moving. Okay, so we have some of everyone here, it looks like. A little bit more than others. The code's 2646-2363. We'll put that in the chat for you. Thank you, Denise. That code is in the chat. Okay. Let's go to the next question. What type of financial services does your agency currently provide? Does it provide VITA services? Does it provide budgeting classes? Does it provide credit counseling? Okay, Molly. So it only allows you to choose one, but you do all three. Karen wants to know why we can't answer all three. I'm sorry, Karen. We didn't give that option to be able to answer all three, but thank you for that note. And we will definitely make sure in the future that it is open to be able to answer more than one. Okay, next question. What type of financial services would you like to see offered in your community? We have credit counseling and we have budgeting. Okay, we got a little bit more credit counseling than budgeting. All right, and our last question. What do you hope to learn from today's webinar? And this question is going to be open-ended, so we didn't put any choices up here for you to choose from. So we just want to hear your thoughts. And again, what do you hope to learn from today's webinar? Oh, great. Money management, credit counseling, tools used for those, practical lessons leading. Okay, tools to engage, financial stability, budgeting, marketing, structuring programs, ways to support families, better helping clients, helping undocumented immigrants, financial stability. Thank you. Beneficial resources. Well, hey, you are in the right place today. Tools for navigating. Yes, yes. Wonderful. Well, I hope you brought a pen and paper or you have your notepad up on your laptop because you are going to get lots of resources today. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that poll. And now we are going to go over the agenda for today. So first is the overview of LCRC. If you do not know what LCRC stands for, it stands for the Learning Community Resource Center. What does financial empowerment, why does financial empowerment matter? Data resources for storytelling, asset building resources, funding, coaching, and entrepreneurship resources. NCAP, the NCAP Financial Empowerment Resource Hub, NCAP's resources, and last but certainly not least, our upcoming events. So this is our agenda for today. And now I am going to pass it on to Karis Manis.
Thank you, Tamaritis, and thank you to all of you for sharing and letting us know who all is in the room with us today and the types of services you're providing and the types of services you want to start providing. That feedback is really helpful. So thank you all for participating in that. So we wanted to start by providing a brief overview to the Learning Communities Resource Center. So you may have heard it referred to as LCRC. So the Learning Communities Resource Center is the learning hub within the CSBG network, and it supports the identification, adaptation, and implementation of innovative and evidence-informed services and strategies to improve results based on individual, family, and community level outcomes for the CSBG network. So one of the initiatives within LCRC is financial empowerment. And when we think about the financial aspect of the services we provide in community action, it's often thought of as budgeting with individuals and families. However, we also know that there are historical inequities rooted in the causes and conditions of poverty that impact the path to financial security and prosperity. With the financial empowerment component of the LCRC, we aim to identify resources at both the individual and the systems level. So the resources that we'll share with you today will be primarily focused on the root causes of poverty. These conditions enable poverty at a systems level, and it takes a community effort to remove barriers so that families and communities can thrive. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Taylor to get us started on the importance of financial empowerment and why it is vital to the work that we do in community action.
Thank you, Karis, and thank you all for being here. To begin, we want to lay a foundation of why financial empowerment matters. Financial instability remains one of the most persistent barriers facing many Americans in their efforts towards achieving social and economic mobility. Across all levels, improving financial capacity can be a daunting and overwhelming task. Often, access to reputable financial education and resources are out of reach for many Americans. And for those in poverty, it's a bit more complex. Managing debt and planning for the future can create competing priorities for families with limited incomes. Financial empowerment is more than just simply providing financial capability service. What financial empowerment really is about is designing and integrating and purposeful strategies that can be adapted to fit the individual needs of each of our customers. We know that there are some systems that enable poverty. Through financial empowerment, we want to ensure that we design and implement strategy to dismantle, remove those barriers so that families can achieve social and economic mobility. At Community Action, we have a history of finding innovative ways to connect financial empowerment strategies with existing services to increase the impact and availability of financial resources. Through financial empowerment, we want to change people's lives and provides families with the knowledge, skill, and confidence to make money decisions that can help them reach their personal and financial goals. Next slide. So continuing on with our foundation of why financial empowerment is important, we want to look at the racial wealth gap. According to the Federal Reserve, the average Black household and Hispanic or Latino households earn about half of an average white household and nearly about 15 to 20% as much in net wealth. Over the past 30 years, the wealth gap has continued to widen considerably. As you can see from the graphic here from Commonwealth, the average white household has a net worth of $188,000, while the average net worth of a Black household is about $24,000. That is a $164,000 difference. This is why we are doing this work. Throughout this webinar, we will review several resources, and NCAP's Financial Empowerment Resource Hub will be providing you with some tools to research to help our people change their lives and the lives of their family through financial empowerment. Next slide, please. So another part in examining or financial empowerment is indicators of financial health. Financial empowerment leads to social and economic mobility. Financial well-being is what we want for the entire community. The Financial Health Network said it best. Financial health comes about when your daily financial systems allow you to be resilient and pursue opportunities over time. They provide us with this really great graphic that we are using as a resource, and it lays out 4 areas of focus: spending, saving, borrowing, and planning. Under the saving category, a marker of financial wellness of spending is spending less than income, paying bills on time. Under the category of savings is having an emergency savings. And my colleagues and I will talk about emergency savings a little bit later in this webinar. Also having sufficient long-term savings. Borrowing is another category of indication of financial health, and that's managing debt and increasing your credit score. And lastly, planning is also another indicator of financial health, and that's having appropriate insurance and being able to plan ahead financially, which can be difficult when you're on a fixed income. These are just some steps that family can take to thrive financially. And now that we've laid the foundation of why financial empowerment is important, I want to hand off to my colleague, Karis, who's going to talk a little bit about data and using data for storytelling and how the partnership use data, and we're going to share some other good resources with you. Karis, on to you.
Thank you, Taylor. So the first few resources that we'll share with you today are related to data collection, as Taylor mentioned. So we want to spend some time talking about why these tools are important and how they can be used in your agency to help tell the story of the families you're serving, the communities where you're serving, and the work you all are doing to promote and support financial empowerment within those families and communities. So if you've been through ROMA training, then this slide will look familiar to you. So in the ROMA cycle, we see very clearly just how important data collection is in the Community Action Network. First, we know that our foundation is with the Community Needs Assessment, where data is used to identify and assess what the needs are in your local community. That data is then used to help you strategically plan your program services in a way that effectively addresses the barriers for those who are most in need. As you're implementing services, data is used as you're tracking and measuring the progress of families. As benchmarks are reached and outcomes are achieved, data is used throughout the reporting process. And of course, data is then used for evaluation to see what successes you can build on and where changes may be needed. Data is not only used to identify where the needs exist, but also to identify what strategies have been successful. For example, data has shown that the increase in funding resources during the COVID-19 pandemic significantly helped to keep families out of poverty, with lower than expected trends in unemployment, an increase in food security because of the SNAP benefit increases, and decrease in child poverty because of the expanded tax credits. This type of data can also be used as a valuable tool to help inform policy and enhance advocacy efforts as you work towards systemic and community level changes. So this is a poverty data map. It's a new tool that's been developed by the Center of American Progress. And I will share my screen so we can navigate together looking at this tool and what features are available. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see the screen there. So you'll see with this tool that you are seeing the map of the United States. And if you hover over each state, you can see the poverty data for each state. So for example, when we hover over Washington, we see that 9.9% of people who fell below the poverty line for a family of 4 in 2021. And you also see the ranking for the poverty level. So if you look at this tool, you can, at the top here, you can change the indicator you're looking at. So you could look at the official poverty rate, you could look at the unemployment rate, or you could look at the gender wage gap, just different types of indicators that you can look at for each state. You could also select the year that you're wanting to look at for the data there, and you can see the full ranking of all 50 states. You can also explore the national data. So if you click this link over here to the left, it will take you to this screen where you can look at poverty rate. You can look at statistics related to jobs, families and communities, and also economic security. You can also compare between states. So if you click this link here, it will bring you to another page. So if you're looking at regional information, or if you're comparing your state to other surrounding states, this may be a helpful tool for you. And you can select up to 4 states. So we'll just start with the first 4 states. We've got Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, and Arkansas going in alphabetical order. And then you can select what data indicators you want to look at. So maybe you want to look at the official poverty rate compared to the child poverty rate, and maybe also the unemployment rate. So you can select those 3 indicators, and then you can select to compare, and you can see the comparison of those 4 states and those 3 data indicators that you selected. You go back to the main screen here. You can also look at your individual state, so you can explore the data more locally. And so if you want to select here, you can scroll down and find your state. I know I mentioned earlier that I'm in North Carolina, so I'll take my home state there and pull that up. And here you can see, again, you can select what year you want to look at the data, the state you want to look at, and then you could put you could search by city or zip code to look at the congressional district and find that more local data. So then you can see the data in your local area. So hopefully that will be a helpful tool for you all. And as you're exploring the tool and thinking about ways that you may be able to use it, you can think about specific policies or initiatives in your community that you want to work towards. So thinking about what the goal is, who the target is, and what problem you're wanting to address. So for example, we'll learn a little bit later on today about cash assistance programs. And maybe that's not a program that your state is currently offering, but you would like to see implemented. So you can look at, to help show that need and advocate for that type of program, you can select indicators that would be relevant to that. So things like the poverty rate, the affordability and availability of housing, and or food insecurity. We'll also talk about baby bonds and child savings accounts. So with those, you might want to look more at the child poverty data. But hopefully this will be a helpful tool for you guys moving forward. And now I'll turn it over to Taylor to share about another great data tool we've got.
Thanks, Karis. As Karis mentioned, we use data for many aspects of our work, whether that is community needs assessment or tracking progress or measuring outcomes for family. Data is essential. So in addition to the poverty data map, we have another great resource, which is the Black Wealth Data Center. The Black Wealth Data Center was conceived and funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies Greenwood Initiative, a program area aimed at increasing generational wealth and addressing systemic underinvestment in Black communities. You may ask, why is this important? And it's quite simple. For many years, quality data for the Black community hasn't been available. This resource can be used to help us understand Black wealth equity, advancing Black wealth data, and fueling data-driven solutions. Ultimately, better data is essential to closing the racial wealth gap. Now, what does that mean for community action? There are a few instances where this resource could be helpful for you. Whether you, again, is completing your community needs assessment or engaging in strategic planning, writing a grant proposal or proposing a new program or initiative at your agency, data will be foundational for completing that task. And so this is a great space. So before we move on, I do want to show you all the Black Wealth Data Center and just walk you through and see some of the information that you can see. And this also will be available on the slide deck, but this is the Black Wealth Data Hub. This is its homepage. And here, if you go to Explore Data, you can see all the different types of data sets that they have. So we're going to just go here to assets and data. What's very great about this resource that you can look from a national, state, and local level. And so you can see they have different categories: average total assets by household, average by race and ethnicity, debt per household, also by race and ethnicity. So we're going to look a little bit at some local data. So it's very great because you can search specific counties. So just if you're working in multiple, in your agency works with multiple counties, you're able to, we're just going to pick 3 random ones and just kind of give you an idea. You can select up to 5. And if you click apply, it is aggregating the data. So it'll present you with the map of the United States, and where it is highlighted, those are the counties that we selected. Added to that, you can see a comparison of all those different counties as well. For all the counties that you select, I believe you can select up to 8 counties to compare. And this information is also downloadable. You can download it as an image or a PDF, or also as a PowerPoint. So this is a new resource, and it's also a new tool, but it is also something that is very useful. It will be expanding, but this is the first, it has just been introduced, I believe, last month. So it's a really great resource, and there's several ways that it can be used, as mentioned, in doing the Roma cycle and planning and doing projects and initiatives. So that is one great resource that we are sharing. And slide, please. So as we continue on, now that we've laid the foundation and we've talked about some data and how we use data from storytelling and giving you 2 resources, we will let you know we will continue to curate resources and gather resources so we can continue to share out with you. But next, we want to talk a little bit about give you all a few asset building resources. In considering a whole family approach to social and economic mobility, it's important that assets are built for the entire family. So in this section of our presentation, we're going to share some resources. We're going to go through some child savings accounts, let you know what they are if you haven't heard about them, how they work. We're going to talk a little bit about baby bonds, emergency savings, cash assistance programs, disaster recovery, CDFIs, and some affordable housing and entrepreneurship resources. So with that, one resource we're going to start with is child savings accounts. Next slide. Oh, sorry. Child savings accounts are long-term savings and investment accounts for children. Depending on the program, the seed amount varies. And in my next slide, I'm going to give you a few examples of 3 different CSA programs. They're usually used for secondary education, but based on the program, there could be some alternatives just for using it for entrepreneurship or home ownership, but that would be post-high school. It also provides incentives for building savings. Again, programs vary, but a child can receive bonuses to their account based on milestones. They call them bonuses. If it's a first birthday, if parents complete surveys, or if child wellness check, those could be help or bonuses that a parent will receive in their child's account for their child savings account. And another thing I would mention that the account withdrawals are restricted. So you have to use it for the like post-secondary education fees and those kinds of things related to that. CSAs are great because if you have them in your state, there is universal eligibility. So all babies born on a certain or after a specific date, residents of the city, state, or county will usually be eligible. So throughout the country, there are 34 different CSA programs throughout the country. So we're just going to talk about a few of them to give you a comparison of what they look like. Next slide. So the first one is College Bound. This is a CSA program that is funded by the city of St. Paul. In the College Bound program, the seed amount is $50. So each child born in the city or a resident of the city will receive a college savings starting with $50. College Bound, as the program, also works with community organizations throughout St. Paul to connect families and their children to early childhood resources, as well as financial education and tools to be financially healthy. Participants have the opportunity to receive more money in their accounts through program bonuses for engaging with their account, as well as reaching milestones. And for example, particularly for College Bound, some of the milestones are first birthdays qualify for bonuses, wellness visits and shots. Those are things that are needed for children for being able to start kindergarten. So proof of that makes a child eligible for these bonuses into their account. In some instances, if parents were working with a partner organization and completing surveys or taking parenting class, that would also result in a bonus in their child's CSA. Another option is Step Up Savings. Step Up is operated, this is a different one, it is operated by Excite Credit Union. Excite Credit Union is a community development financial institution, and my colleague Tamaris will tell you a little bit more about CDFIs and why they're important to our people. But Excite Credit Unions are available for individuals who are based in various counties in Northern California and North Carolina. The start off of this account, in order for your child to be eligible for this account, you have to have an account with the credit union. But that is a $5 membership, and that would be your initial deposit. If you have any customers that live in this area, that might be a great place to start their financial journey. But their savings program features an open deposit from Excite Credit Union and milestone bonuses as well. This is a little bit different because there's also an option for parent matching, which if the parent is unable to contribute, that might be a little bit difficult for helping that to grow, but at least the initial deposit and open deposit will be there. The third option would be Keystone Scholars. It's a program through the Pennsylvania Treasury Department. And through this program, children are seeded $100 for every baby born or adopted. For families who live in, it's doing the 6 pilot counties for future education. Family must claim, they're not automatically opted in. You have to claim online or you have to do it by phone. So that is also another option, but it can be qualified for expenses for vocational or technical schools, community colleges, as well as four-year institutions. And then, as I mentioned, there are 34 CSA programs across the county. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see a map from Prosperity Now that indicates all of the child savings account programs and child savings accounts initiatives throughout the country. So this will be a great resource that you can go to and see what is near in your community, in your service area, and what you can direct your customers to. And another potential source for asset building for children is the post-adoption of baby bonds. Excellent, thank you. Baby bonds are significant monetary investments made by the government on behalf of children and their families, and it can be used for future wealth building. It was proposed, it's designed to narrow the racial wealth gap by providing the largest investment to children from the lowest resource households, which is disproportionately households of color. So in 2018, Senator Cory Booker developed the American Opportunity Accounts Act, which would create the National Baby Bonds Program. It is at birth, it's seeded with $1,000 in every year up until the child turns 18. The account will be supplemented with further annual deposit up to $2,000, with the largest amount going to the lowest income households. This act has been introduced in Congress, so we need to do our part and advocate for it to become law. If you go to the next slide, Prosperity Now has curated great resources about baby bonds and how you can take action. You should be able to use this QR code, and you can go directly to Prosperity Now's website, and you can see all those information. It includes how you can sign up, how you can email your Congress people, what to say, also some videos and briefs about baby bonds. So this is a great resource, and we will also be including it on the Partnership Financial Empowerment Resource Hub that we'll talk about a little bit further in our presentation. And with that, I will hand it off to my colleague, Karis.
Thank you, Taylor. So this slide shows that there is an emergency savings problem in our country. And that problem is that 36% of Americans do not have at least $400 in savings for an unexpected emergency. For families making under $60,000 a year, that number is 58%. And we see that percentage increases even more for women, Hispanic households, and Black households who have been disproportionately impacted due to the historical inequities that have prevented savings through structural barriers. So we know that having an emergency savings is an important part of financial empowerment because it helps families to be more prepared when there's a disaster or an unexpected loss of income, like we saw with the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can go to the next slide. So Commonwealth is a resource that provides innovative solutions to help enable savings. And these are some examples of solutions that can be used. And you can learn more about these resources by scanning the QR code there and visiting their website. But just to kind of introduce you to some of the resources they have available, one is the BlackRock Emergency Savings Initiative. So this initiative is working to elevate awareness of the emergency savings crisis in the United States. They're conducting research into the causes and solutions to help families become more financially secure. They also have AutoSave, which through this initiative, they're working with employers to provide employee savings programs where automatic post-tax deductions are deposited into savings accounts to enable workers to build emergency funds. The Record Keeper and Payroll Provider Intervention is where they're collaborating with retirement record keepers and payroll providers to develop innovations that make building emergency savings easier and more engaging for employees by leveraging the systems they already use to manage their paychecks in retirement. With the low or no fee liquid savings accounts, these are accounts that help to reduce barriers such as withdrawal limits or minimum balance requirements and help to encourage people to build savings and use those savings accounts when emergencies occur. They also have prize-linked savings, which are programs that incentivize savings by offering a chance to win prizes while saving. And similarly, there's the gamification, which is gamified savings programs that help to transform savings from a mundane and stressful activity into something that's fun and an engaging experience. And again, you can learn more about those types of innovative solutions by visiting their website. And now I'll turn it over to Meredith to talk about cash assistance programs and how they can also be used to address this issue.
Thank you, Karis. So as we continuously advocate for our families and our communities, we wanted to mention the cash assistance programs or the guaranteed basic income program. So guaranteed income programs or cash assistance programs, what they do is they provide either hundreds or thousands of dollars a month to participants by allowing families to purchase whatever necessities they need, improving these families' quality of life. As of this year, there are 60 mayors that are advocating and launching pilot programs for their residents. According to the data, participants improved in areas of job prospects, financial stability, and overall well-being. So This program has no restrictions, so there's no work requirements. The money is used unconditional, and it's intended to help the family build that safety net. What it essentially does is it provides that consistent and reliable form of support. And it also demonstrates trust that we have in our families to make the decisions that they need to make personally for their well-being. They're also paired with a financial coach, and in the end, it builds self-efficacy. So these programs at this time are not in every state, but if you feel like this is something that would be great for your community or your families, please reach out to your legislators, your senators, and use the tool that Karis mentioned earlier, which was that poverty data map. So you can have the data that tells the story that your community is suffering and this program is needed. Again, the program has been piloted many a times already, and it has shown great results. So now I'm going to give it back over to Karis, and she is going to speak on investing.
Thank you, Tamaritis. And I saw a question in the chat about where the cash assistance programs are piloted. So we will be sharing some resources of some examples of pilots and the financial hub, which Taylor mentioned, we'll talk about later on in the presentation today. So we'll be able to share some of those pilots that may be available with you all. So investing is another area where the inequities of the racial wealth gap are evident, with investing currently being highly concentrated among white families. We also know that in our work with families living in poverty, that investing is often not seen as a realistic or obtainable goal that they see for their immediate or short-term future. For families living in poverty, the focus is on meeting the basic needs and getting through the month. However, resources like Commonwealth and Better Investing are working to help make investing a more realistic and attainable goal for low-income families. So one example of how that can be done is through seed funding. So there's a program through Commonwealth that provided $250 to 250 women of color to help support and encourage investing. Another option is through investment clubs, which you can learn more about on the Better Investing website, which is listed here. You can also use this link to find investment clubs that may exist in your area. Climb is one example of an investment club that's based out of Wisconsin. These clubs are made up of 10 to 15 members who invest $25 per month. They have a shared agreement, a clear structure in place with officers and a regular meeting time. And you can visit their website to learn more about this type of service and resources for how to start an investment club. These types of services build on the collective power of families and communities, provide a sense of shared ownership, and help connect underserved families to educational programs and resources that increase their awareness and access to wealth building possibilities that can exist through investing. And we've seen in the presentation so far how important savings and investing are for families. And one reason for that is that it helps families to be more prepared in cases of unexpected emergencies, like we saw with the COVID-19 pandemic and with the natural disasters that we've seen throughout this country with hurricane and tornado damage, flooding, winter storms, wildfires. And most recently, we've seen this impact with families in Puerto Rico, Florida, and the Carolinas. This map here shows that throughout the country, those already suffering the greatest economic disparities are those who are hurt worst by natural disasters. These inequities can begin before the disaster in the form of an unawareness or lack of information about preparedness planning, as well as decreased mitigation and infrastructure funding. Following the disaster, these inequities continue through the undervaluing of housing and possessions of low-income communities and communities of color and housing inspections, as well as disparities with disaster lending that enable white families to rebuild more quickly and thoroughly. We can go to the next slide. So IDEM is the Institute for Diversity and Inclusion in Emergency Management. And this is an organization that's working to address these disparities and integrate equity into the emergency management system. So you can scan the QR code here to learn more about the work that they're doing and the resources they have available. One example that you'll find on their website is this guide for building alliances for equitable resilience that was completed through FEMA's Resilient Nation Partnership Network. If we can go to the next, yep. So another resource we wanted to share with you is this community benefits playbook that was completed through the Emerald Cities Collaborative and Justice 40. So we know that there's a transition happening right now with the climate economy. There was $22 billion in federal disaster funds that were allocated in 2020. However, it's important that we make sure that Black and Brown businesses are included in that and benefiting from those corporate transitions, procurement processes, manufacturing, and government contracting. So this resource serves as an advocacy organizing toolkit to help ensure that federal infrastructure and climate investments are benefiting the communities that need them the most. And now I will pass it over to Tamaritis to talk about more about CDFIs and how they can support communities to build wealth.
Okay, thank you, Karis. What is a CDFI? So community development financial institutions, they share a common goal of expanding economic opportunities in low-income communities by providing access to financial products and services for local residents and small businesses. So whether it's the local credit union down the street or nearby business loan fund, your community may be home to an organization known as a CDI. So again, they deliver responsible and affordable lending to financially disadvantaged communities. And in contrast to a traditional bank that are typically focused on generating profits to satisfy shareholders. So if you want to know more about CDFIs and if one is located in your area, the second link right there, www.ofn.org CDFI locator, will let you know what CDFI is located in your area. The CDFIfund.gov will again give you more information on what CDFIs are and how they can be of extra resource. Next slide. All right, why are CDFIs important? So CDFIs are typically the first responders in under-resourced communities. Those are communities of color, those are women and people of color entrepreneurs. CDFIs also respond in crises such as the pandemic recently, housing crises, and climate disasters. CDFIs also support startup funds for small businesses and their growth, for affordable housing, for nonprofit-owned businesses, as well as commercial and consumer real estate. Next slide. Options for building CDFI capacity. These are options. One is creating a new CDFI. Honestly, this is going to be slow, expensive, and likely serve only one sector. So it's not going to be beneficial. Two is convincing an established CDFI to locate to your area. Again, that's a long shot unless it's extremely beneficial to them and probably will only serve 1 to 2 sectors. The CDFI friendly strategy is to incentivize regional and national CDFIs to lend in your area by using 2 key tools. One, a staff person to organize this specific market, and 2, organizing a credit enhancement fund to have skin in the game and help external CDFIs manage your risk. Currently, CDFIs are located in Bloomington and South Bend, Indiana, Fort Worth, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jacksonville, Florida, and Clark County, Nevada. Next. How we help you make CDFI friends. Again, that link's there right there, the CDFI locator. Please reach out to someone that is close in your area. They will be able to help assess where your agency or organization's resources are. It will help to organize your resources and goals that you are wanting. They will help come up with a plan and get to the point where you are implementing that plan. So again, ofn.org, CDFI locator. Thank you. Next. All right, affordable housing. So as we look towards affordable housing opportunities and resources, families in the United States face a multitude of economic crises, such as housing unaffordability, once in a generation inflation, and skyrocketing cost of living increases. We would like to highlight the Zoning In scorecard here, which houses data on the underrepresented in housing, and also discussing the origins of the racial wealth gap in the US in the context of housing and zoning policies and practices. While we also uplift and advocate for the adoption of IZ programs in cities and states nationally, IZ stands for inclusionary zoning. So inclusionary zoning is a policy that incentivizes developers to allot a fraction of new housing units to low income and moderate income families. These policies create opportunities for families of color to accumulate wealth through home equity in an increasingly exclusive housing market, ultimately, again, to help close the racial wealth gap. So you can either scan the QR code here to take you directly to the scorecard, or it is also on our resource hub that you will see in just a second. Next slide, please. Okay, our next resource is the Up for Growth platform. And this uses a framework for converting housing underproductions into housing opportunities. So when we think of housing opportunities, we think of like knowing the impact of housing fees on our communities. We think of affordable calculators, the most current low-income tax credits, housing mortgage products, and community investment tools. So again, this is another great source on aspects of affordability housing for our agencies and our clients. So from here, I'm going to pass on to Caris as she speaks on financial coaching resources.
Thank you, Tamaris. Yeah, so we've talked about the importance of financial empowerment, the importance of investing in children and families, and we've shared various tools that can be used to help families and communities build assets. And now I want to share some of the funding opportunities and coaching resources that may be available to help support you in the work you're doing and the services you're providing to families. So one example of that would be the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They have financial coaching resources available on their website. These are free downloadable tools. You can also order booklets and other resources that can be delivered to your organization. So they have one that's on remote financial coaching. So if you're providing remote services, it provides practical tools for ways that you can effectively do that. They also have the Your Money, Your Goals toolkit, which a lot of you may be familiar with if you're already providing these services. And we've also included here a webinar that the partnership has done on going more in depth as to how you can utilize these tools as a community action agency. So those are some resources for how you can use those coaching tools. Now Taylor will share about another resource for you.
Thanks, Caris. Appreciate that. So another great resource is Up Together. So Up Together is a platform to highlight, invest in, and accelerate initiatives people in historically undervalued communities are taking to improve their lives and moving up together. Up Together as a movement realized in their approach where the power lies is in the people, the families, and the communities. So Up Together is a free platform that can be accessed from computer or phone. The Up Together community is a place where families and individuals can form small groups online, collaborate, and help each other achieve their goals. Members of the platform have access to a variety of cash offers from funding partners. Members can choose to invest those funds that they receive however they choose, and they don't have to pay it back. And on the next slide, you'll see some screenshots of what that platform looks like. As I said, it is free. You can make an account from your phone or from a desktop. You'll be able to create a group of other individuals. So if you want to, if you have customers who want to collaborate on a project, or if you all as an agency is leading a project and you want customers to be a part of this app, you can create a group and communicate that way as well. And you can see this is an example of what an offer might look like. It's just a test campaign. Their funders will put the different parameters of the offer, and you can see it right here, and they are able to accept the offer, and the funding will go directly to them. So it's a really great resource to explore. It is pretty new and it is evolving, but it could be very helpful in the way in which we do our work, and also disseminate money to our customers as well for whatever activity. And from there, I'll pass it over to Meredith, who will give us entrepreneurship resources.
Thank you, Taylor. So, why are small business voices important? Data shows us that the top 5 barriers to entrepreneurial successes are access to capital, financial management, cash flow, business planning, and racial biases and discrimination. So we again want to highlight why business voices are so important, and also highlight a resource for entrepreneurial success, which is venturize.org. So let's start with the stats. 33.2 million small businesses are in the country. They employ 61.7 million people. 27.15 million of those self-employed people are growing as the nature of our work changes, as our everyday lives change. 9.7 of those businesses are minority owned, 12 million are women owned. Immigrants started 22% of all businesses in 2019, despite accounting for 13% of our population and 17% of the US labor force. Black women are the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs in the US, with nearly 2.7 million businesses growing nationwide. So venturize.org, I'm going to share my screen very quickly with you so you can see what this looks like. Okay, so this is Venturize here, and whether you are looking for capital and loans, whether you are needing information about retirement or healthcare, or even if you're at the point where the idea just came into mind about you wanting to go down a business venture, this is the place to be. The really easy thing about this site is you just put in your zip code here and press submit. It literally, so I have 29 local providers from my zip code, and it literally shows me every resource that's around me that I can reach out to find information about, like I said, either starting a business or promoting my business or growing my business, whatever I may need to be successful in my business. This is a great resource for that. We're running short of time, so I'm going to pass over very, very quickly to Taylor about the Resource Center review.
Thank you, Meredith. So first, I want to thank you all who has stayed on with us. We're going to be wrapping up very quickly. But the last thing is we've thrown a lot of information at you. And these are a lot of great resources and a lot of great tools. So we have created the NCAP Financial Empowerment Resource Hub on the NCAP's website. So I just want to show you how to be able to access that information and how to navigate to get to it. Just as we continue to add new information, you'll be able to find it very easily. So if you go to the partnerships website, you'll go here to programs and initiatives. As Karis mentioned, we are a part of LCRC, so that is the Learning Communities Resource Center. So you would just click here. You see all of the resources that we have to offer here, but you'll scroll down right to this middle section here where it says Financial Empowerment Resource Hub. So if you click that, you'll see we have several of the resources that we mentioned here today and some of the different tools there as well. So you'll see the Up Together, Better Investment, and Climb. And so this list is not exhaustive to everything that we did. Someone asked about a cash assistance program. Lift Family Goal is one of the examples of a cash assistance program. So it's already there on the partnerships website, and the sources are already available for you. So we will provide the link directly to the website in our follow-up email, and along with our slides and other resources that we have curated for you. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Karis to wrap us up.
Thank you, Taylor. And again, thank you for those of you who are still here with us. So we just wanted to go over real quickly some of the resources that we have available here at NCAP. Go to the next slide. So first, these are some financial empowerment case studies that have been done through our learning communities in the past. So you can scan the code here to get access to those case studies of work that's being done here in the Community Action Network. Go to the next slide. We also have some of the previous financial empowerment webinar trainings that have been done that are available in our resource library. So again, we'll send these links out to you so you can access any of these previous trainings that are available as well. We also have the Community Action Academy. This is our free online learning hub for the Community Action Network. So if you aren't on the Community Action Network, we encourage you to scan the code, create an account, and you'll have access to a lot of free e-courses and videos and other resources. We also have upcoming events we want to let you know about. So first, we have a webinar coming up next week on October 26th from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The topic will be on harnessing executive skills for goal achievement. So if you're interested in being a part of that webinar, we have the link that you can register there, and we'll include that in the chat for you as well. If you're interested in becoming a certified community action professional, enrollment has now started for 2023. So you can scan the code here to get more information about that. Those data forms will be due by January 18th. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to our CCAP team, and the email address is included there for you. We also want you to save the date. So our 2023 Management and Leadership Training Conference will be coming up February 8th through 10th, and will be in New Orleans, Louisiana this year. So save the date, and we hope you'll be able to join us there. We also have an evaluation survey. So we want to hear back from you as far as how beneficial this webinar was for you today. We value your feedback and encourage you to complete that survey and let us know how we can better serve you. And then we've got our contact information here. So any questions that may have come up during the presentation today, if you need any additional information, you can reach out to us. Like we mentioned, we'll be sending out follow-ups with all of the resources and the direct link to the resource hub. So we'll be sending all that information out to you. And we just want to thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.